Hello, please.
Sorry, I was giving thumbs up. You actually can't see the top.
Oh, your audio is a little bit
Oh,
thingy
like
majig.
this? Is that
Oh,
better?
yeah, that's great.
Okay.
That is awesome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I definitely haven't been sitting with you for an hour and a little bit already.
Um, I'm very excited to talk about this movie because watching it the second time around was akin to torture. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, ah, ah. I really, I don't like it. I know we usually, in our first episode, we kept our thoughts for the end, but this time around, I'm gonna flip the script because I am so annoyed with this stupid movie. Can you tell me, like, do you like this movie?
No, not particularly. No.
That's good. Well, at least we're on the same page. Have I said the title of it yet? I don't even know.
No, no, no.
Okay, you go ahead. You do the
This is
introduction.
this is the voyeurs episode. For those who haven't watched The Voyeurs, it is a Prime original.
Is it
And
really?
yeah, it is. I think Mahika is going to be reading the description of it. God, it is not what you think it is. I thought when you look at the poster, you think, oh, maybe these are people who are going to witness a murder or a
Hmm.
crime, and they're going to have to live with knowing that someone dangerous is living across the way. But that's actually not what happens entirely.
That's like a
So
very
what is the
small part of it.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
very small piece. What actually happens?
okay, so this is what Prime has to say. A young couple find themselves becoming interested in the sex life of their neighbors across the street. What starts as an innocent curiosity turns into an unhealthy obsession after they discover that one neighbor is cheating. Temptation and desire cause their lives to become tangled together, leading to deadly consequences. Um, yeah, I guess if we read the description before we watched it, we would have known. But I feel like it's fair to go by the poster. Like I'm not. It's not like with books where I'm thinking I'm gonna read you want to read the back of it just to see if it's worth like wasting so much of your time. But with this, I was like I had the same thought as you. I was just like, oh yeah, it looks like very like ominous, and I'll describe the poster. So it's like it it it's basically you're seeing two faces, two large faces through a window, and one is my favorite character in the movie. His name is Thomas. He has like round glasses. He looks like Harry Potter. Um, I haven't seen Harry Potter, but like the Harry Potter glasses, and then you have his partner beside him, who is played by Sydney Sweeney. What's this bitch's name? Brittany?
I think it's Sydney. Yeah.
No, it's Pippa. Oh my
Oh, I thought you were
God.
talking about the actor name.
No,
Pardon me.
no, no. I
Sorry.
mean like her character name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she like I don't know, they're looking at us like yeah, like you said, like they witnessed something criminal that we had just done. And there's rain on the glass, and the font is also very misleading. I felt bamboozled, but
I did too.
yeah, let's start at the beginning, Cap Cap.
Yes. So it starts with a few scenes of us approaching a city. We enter a uh, underwear store, I guess is the best way to say it. And you can see a crack in the curtain, and you see this woman looking at herself as she tries on lingerie, and she seems happy with how it looks. And we realize, oh, we are voyeurs. Hmm. Cutscene. And we see Pippa happily walking down the street. She enters her new apartment. She's
Mhm.
incredibly happy as she greets her boyfriend. They spin around and they joke around, and they're happy as they're signing away the lease. And we see movers in the background bringing in their furniture, and the tenancy agent is just kind of standing there waiting for all the shenanigans to end. And
Us at a
yeah,
wedding.
yes. And they finally have this new home together. So we see a
Mhm.
happy couple being disgustingly happy together.
Yeah.
And there's one more paper that they have to sign. They sign it off, and then they seem to just be settling into their
Settling
new
in.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I gotta say, I do not understand people's aversion to the lack, sorry, aversion to blinds or curtains or some type of window dressing. I
Yeah.
like both, and I grew up with both. We had blinds that you turn and curtains to cut out any additional light.
Mm.
So I don't get it. That's all I gotta say about that. How do you feel about curtains, Mika, and blinds?
I I agree. That was the first thought that I had because this apartment is a beautiful apartment to begin with. It is in Montreal, which was like as a Canadian, another shout out. That was fun. Um, Wait, is Montreal like the racist one?
I mean,
That's
I
Quebec.
don't know.
No, Canada's amazing. We're not
Hmm.
racist. Um, saying this as a South Asian is just
And
the
what's
cherry
happening in
on the
Canada
cake.
right now is not
Uh,
not
it's a
good.
mess. But
Yeah.
this movie was is not as much of a mess, but it was. I think like when you see this apartment, it's essentially floor to ceiling windows. They are
Yep.
massive windows, amazing natural light coming in. And my first thought when I if I moved into a place like this would be to block the natural light. I'd be like, we need to
Mm.
have an option where we can, you know, retain a sense of privacy because these buildings are also, they seem scarily close to each other. Um, and yeah, no, I'm not having it. Absolutely not.
Um,
I don't believe in
uh,
that.
they seem to be like huge, huge
Yeah.
condos, and they are apartments or condos or whatever that are facing each other. So you can see multiple levels of
Mm-hmm.
people's living environment, and they are all floor to ceiling windows. And very few of those individuals have some type of window dressing. And these new individuals moving into this apartment also don't have any window dressing.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, while they are eating dinner, they are chatting about life, about everything, their expectations.
Yeah.
Um, and then they turn their head and they see a couple getting down and dirty. And oh man, it was a little bit weird because
hmm
we we see, oh, actually, did I jump a little bit ahead?
No, I think you're good. They were eating, right? They were eating, and then the couple.
No, no, yeah, we I jumped, my mistake, because they move in, they eat, and they talk about their long-term plans, but
Right.
they when they want children. I'm like, if you're moving in together, you should already know what the next year and a bit looks like, in my opinion. I think that this is a really strange way of trying to discuss what the expectations are in a relationship and trying to set up what the relationship is like. But
Mm.
nevertheless, they have that conversation, and then we cut to Pippa wearing the lingerie and preparing for some sexy time with her partner, but
Mm.
he's really tired. And she tries to get his attention, but he is conked out.
Yes.
He ain't ready for
Passed
any
out.
any type of funny business. So she goes to bed looking sad. And the next morning, she is talking to her friend about the the she's talking to her friend about relationships, and we realized Pippa is horned up. She
Yeah.
is horny.
Yeah.
She got the lingerie. She was very
Mm.
excited to use the lingerie.
Yeah.
She was talking about um, sexy times with her friends on their way to work. And she actually was talking about sex at work as well. So, you
HR
know,
violation. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. This is a
So
walking
you
lawsuit.
so you know what's on her mind. That is
Mm,
for certain.
yeah.
Pippa is working at an optometrist office, and
She's an optometrist. This bitch is an optometrist. Why do you look so like dubious?
because she's not the okay, she maybe she is an optometrist and she assists with the
Yeah.
laser eye surgery. Yeah, I guess for
Mm.
that reason, I felt like perhaps she was not an optometrist. Maybe she was assisting the optometrist. Um, but I'm
Brace,
sorry.
you
I'm sorry.
are
I was
a
wrong.
you're a,
I was
you're a
wrong.
you're a racist against blondes. This is what it is.
I'm
You just
sorry.
thought
I'm
she was
sorry.
blonde.
Please don't put that out in the world. I'm not racist against the blondes. No, no, no. I made an assumption and my assumption was very wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
Um,
it's fair. Considering the fact that she is like she doesn't conduct herself like with the
in a
respect
professional
that
manner.
no, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not surprised because usually it is like the assistants that are acting a fool and
Mm,
talking about their sex lives with their coworkers. I'm just
yeah.
saying, it's not typically, well, it depends on who your boss is, so I won't put that out there, but
Yeah. No, but
yeah.
the boss does seem um she's the same mom um in what's it called? In the TV show.
Are you sure
Kim's
that's her?
Convenience.
Is she
Yeah.
the mom at Kim's Convenience?
Yes, she's amazing.
Damn.
Um, so it was really nice to see her, and she and the rest of the people at the office seem to have a good relationship. And then we cut to the apartment again. It seems like the boyfriend Thomas is a musician, and he works from home. Uh,
He has a cool
the
job. Yeah,
Yeah, he does have a
yeah,
really cool job. That would be pretty cool to just have all your instruments around you, to have a cool desk set up and be able to do everything that you love right there in a
yeah,
beautiful apartment.
yeah.
Um,
That's really nice.
so they are catching up, and this is when we see the people. Huh, maybe you are right. They do see the couple getting down on dirty on their first night. And then
I
on the
think so.
second night, yeah, we see that there's a different couple uh, in the apartment, and the man starts to choke. And
You know what I'm doing if my neighbor starts choking? I am drawing the curtains. I'm like, can you
oh
do that a little bit
my
quieter?
God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
They
It's a bit
wouldn't
of
have had to see this if I had blinds.
oh
I'm just saying.
gosh. Oh God. I think that if your blinds are going to be open like that, you have to be prepared for seeing anything. And they already were beginning to snoop on their neighbors. They seemed
Yeah.
like they had an interesting life. So if you're going to continue doing that, you have to have some type of plan. And they
Mm,
did not have a plan.
hmm
So when you see someone choking like that and you want to do something, you call 911.
mm.
That's what you do. And you tell them, go to this place in this area. I don't know these neighbors, but there's someone choking. They're maybe on like the 11th, 12th floor. Do your best type of thing.
Mm.
And that would also be the perfect excuse to meet these neighbors. I think that the opportunity to introduce yourselves to neighbors who are uh, in the strange position of seeing your entire life um, just by happenstance, and the arrangement of these condos is is important because you don't know what these people are seeing. But to make
Mm.
it all less awkward, you may as well say hello when you can, you know?
Right.
So I think that the opportunity to do that was missed. Uh,
Especially in the context of like, I saved your life, therefore my name is so and so.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think
Yeah.
that like I see some things and I just want to let you know But like I can see things in incredible detail. I think earlier, what's his name? Thomas was saying that he was seeing the dude's pubes. Like I just like if you're getting down to that much detail,
Yeah.
there's an issue. And you also have to
Yeah.
consider they can probably see the same in your apartment. Consider
Mm.
that. I don't think they did. I don't think they did. Ugh. So they missed the opportunity, but thankfully, the girlfriend or the partner in the couple across the way makes her way to the man who is choking, and she tries to just knock the food out of his back, out of his throat by tapping on his back, but that obviously doesn't work. She eventually does the Heimlich maneuver, and he spits up the food and survives. I'm going through this and I'm realizing this story is so messy. It is so messy, Binka. Oh, God. Okay, so hours and hours later, Pippa wakes up in the middle of the night. She gets some water and she looks out
Mm-hmm.
the window. Turns out the man who was choking earlier in the day is also looking out the window, half naked. And Pippa's drawn in. She's just
Strawn
looking
in.
at
Oh
his
yeah.
body.
Body yaddy yaddy.
She looks like she's licking her lips, just
She's
like,
like, ew.
oh, yum,
Like,
yummy. She's not saying any of this, but that's what her eyes are saying, okay?
ain't nobody standing at a window looking at something thinking, ooh, yummy, yummy, yummy. You know what this made me think though? This made me think that there should be a category on Netflix or Prime where it's like BIPOC person deserves better. And it just has to be these poor partners. Like he is he has a job and he seems nice and he wears glasses and he cares
Mhm.
about you and you're standing here looking at
Thirsting after the cheating neighbor.
who what on God's green earth. She's thirsty though,
Oh,
like you said before. That is
she's incredibly horny.
yeah, 100%.
And somehow they make eye contact. Somehow they make eye contact.
And she
And
shatters her glass.
she drops the glass. She drops the glass. And you know what? That was
Mm.
another missed opportunity. I'm telling you, the story is so avoidable. If someone across the way
Hmm.
is making eye contact, you drop the glass. Be shocked. Like, it's
Yeah,
completely normal. I'd be
100%.
shocked too. But then you say, hello, and you wave, you
Hi.
acknowledge them, and then you
Yeah.
know what? You draw your blind. That's what you
Yeah.
do. You draw the
Or you
blind.
just like, remember Taylor Swift and You Belong With Me? You just start, you find that notebook and you grab a Sharpie and you're just like, hey, bitch,
Yes,
how you
yes, you can do that too.
doing?
Oh my gosh, actually, I saw this video online of a
Mm,
similar situation, but they were closer together, much, much closer.
mm,
Two neighbors, and the neighbor number one had a dog, and this dog would
mm.
go on the balcony and he would do his absolute best to get the attention of the neighbor across the way.
Aw,
And then every morning, the dog would say good morning to the neighbor, and the neighbor would wave back. And
sweet.
eventually, they met, and it was really, really
Mm,
cute. You know,
yeah,
it's just a beautiful thing when you can acknowledge that this is a bit strange. It's kind of an invasion of privacy, but we're
yeah,
here, we acknowledge it, and then you move forward.
yeah.
They did not do that. Okay.
No, 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 no.
Um, so moving on. Oh, the other thing I have to say is that if you're not going to use blinds or curtains, you can put on reflective plastic on your windows. So it makes the glass opaque. People who are looking into
Hmm.
your apartment wouldn't be able to see anything, but it
Mm,
doesn't obscure the view of people on the other side who are looking
mm.
out into the world. So that's another option.
I think
But
we're
of
trying to
course,
find like a
again,
bunch of options to like not make this movie have been a thing. We're like trying to stop
yeah,
it right within the first like 20 minutes because it goes
exactly.
off the rails. Oh my
It
God.
really does. And I
Yeah.
also realized that these people are exhibitionists. That's what it is. I don't think that it
Mm.
should be titled voyeurs.
Hmm.
The couples like showing themselves for
Right.
whatever reason. And in every element of the story, there's a form of exhibition, and we'll realize that later on. But anyway, um, they continue to peep. You have an incredibly horny sex scene.
Yep.
The neighbor gets down and dirty
Hmm.
with another person that he has hired. Well, we assume is hired to be a model, and he seduces this person,
He's a
and
sexual harasser. This guy is like a
yeah,
complete predator, you know?
it does seem that way for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And you know who's there watching?
Mm,
Thomas and Pippa.
our
They're eating
protagonist.
this up.
Okay, can
And
I just say though, Pippa initiated this. Pippa, you are the problem. But also, like
yeah.
Thomas was, I don't know why, but like I felt like Thomas's like commentary and stuff made him feel more like one of us. Like if our
Mm.
neighbors were acting whack, we would be like, "Girl, get your big ass necklace and leave." Like we would absolutely talk like this. But then with Pippa, it's like she had her thought process was like unhealthy from the get. I feel. I don't
Yeah.
want to
Well, I
blame
mean,
her, but
co-
it was shady.
okay. So what I realized is that Thomas was the first to realize that you can see way more than you ever thought you would when they
Right.
first moved in. And
Yeah.
Pippa was like, "Oh, like it's weird, but like let's not dwell on it." And
Mm.
then when she returned home from work after that first day, we realized, oh, they are invested in, or
Mm.
Pippa is invested in knowing their neighbor's business. And I think Thomas got over it pretty quickly. My assumption is that Thomas got over it pretty quickly because he works from home. He sees these people's day from the moment he's awake. And
Yeah.
yeah, if he's bored, he's looking out the window, he's going to see some stuff, but I think he got over it. While
Yeah.
Pippa didn't. Um, and she just wanted to see a naked man. That's really that's I think that's what Pippa was looking for.
It's crazy
And
because she had access to a naked man. She lives with a
she
naked
did.
man. Or like he could be naked when she requested his nakedness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you tell I'm single? I'm just saying that like he had abs too. When we saw
Yeah,
like his body for that inappropriate sex scene, it was just
yeah,
like this point like he looks like like a string bean, but he has a nice body. Like look at his
yeah,
body. Go
yeah.
look.
And the thing about Amiga is that she bought binoculars. She bought binoculars to make an investment in knowing what was happening in this.
If my person brought home binoculars to look at the neighbors, I'd be like, bitch, you have lost your goddamn mind. You are losing it. You are an optometrist. What are you doing?
Really.
Oh my God. I'm
I
judging. I'm
I was
judging my
shocked.
partner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would too. I would too. And I'd say, you know what? Before we use these binoculars, we have to set up some hiding places. Because can you imagine just casually sitting watching TV and being like, I wonder what's happening. And in full view, you don't have any curtains or blinds on your own windows, and yet you're pulling out binoculars to look outside your window. Anyone else who is turning looking out the window would be wondering what's up.
No. Okay, well here's the thing too. I feel like I am the neighbor. This happened recently. It was garbage day. I
Oh,
went outside or like I opened the door to go bring in the bins. My
okay.
neighbor was like coming into the driveway. I was like, "No, ma'am." I closed the door. I waited 10 minutes and then I went outside and I got them just to avoid speaking to them. I don't want to look at you. I don't want to. I don't care what your name is. I don't care. I don't care. Oh my God. Even like in the winter when you have to shovel, I'm like, I
Yeah.
would rather suffer and shovel this entire driveway by myself than talk to you about snow. Oh my God. No. Paul, James, Lucas, I don't care. Get away from
Mm.
me. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Other
No,
people are very neighborly and they like to masturbate watching their neighbors. I am not one of those
I
people.
don't know about that. I'm really hoping that plenty of people don't do that. This seems like oh God, Mika. It's a special, I want to think of this as being a special case.
Yeah,
If I think of it any other way,
yeah,
um, I it's just hard to live your life thinking that everyone is peeping on you,
yeah,
which I think is an element of the story. We're gonna
hmm
get there. We're gonna
yeah, yeah,
get to the end, but like
100%.
I just think that it's incredibly disturbing
Hmm
to first of all imagine that you can see every intimate detail of someone's sexual life, something that's
hmm
supposed to be private. One
hmm
question that I had is if it's even consensual
hmm
to have this extramarital affair with someone in a what is now a public place. Your apartment is public to
hmm
everyone.
hmm
Is it okay to have sex in an environment like that?
Like if your sexual partner is not aware that people
They can be
are
seen.
no, then that's not consent. If there's like an
Yeah,
element that they don't know, it's like recording
exactly.
someone and like having that that's like the level of disgust that it
Yeah,
brings me. That was a thing like you said, they are definitely exhibitionists because I cannot okay, just like before we get to the end, just like
mm,
this couple can see them, they can also see them on the other in the other way. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So, ew,
It was weird. It was weird.
it
There was
was
a mutual
weird.
sexual scene,
Yeah,
and it was disturbing.
yeah.
Um, Pippa was
hmm
trying to match the sexual interaction to what was happening in the neighbor's apartment,
hmm
which was an element that, you can only expect would happen in a situation like this. But Thomas
hmm
is none the wiser, and you
hmm
realize, there is certainly an issue in this relationship
hmm
that Thomas is not aware about, and you
hmm
feel some type of way about that. Yeah.
Ugh,
Um,
like I don't want to make him out to be. Well,
yeah.
keep going, and then I'll
Yeah.
give my
The
thoughts.
thing about it is that, like, so Pippa made eye contact with
Hmm
the man. She bought binoculars. They
Yep.
had a mutual sexual um, interaction between the two couples. I'm assuming that, the couple on the other end, the man and the this relationship in the neighbor's apartment is aware
hmm
that they can be seen, and he can only assume that his neighbors are watching them at all times. So you
hmm
have to keep that in mind.
hmm
But Pippa never disclosed that she made eye contact with the man, that she bought
hmm
the binoculars with the intention of peeping some more,
Yeah.
and she never acknowledged that she has feelings for him. You could be, I think it's fine to also say to your partner, "Oh, they're kind of cute. Like I'm never
hmm
gonna do anything, but
hmm
they got a hot bod." She never even
Yeah.
said that, and I think that it demonstrates her character.
hmm
And it
As a
makes what
dick.
happens, yeah, and it makes what happens even more ethically dubious, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
She was definitely she was obsessive and
mhm,
her like oh there are parts that you're gonna get to that I will rant on.
mhm,
But I think like if this like wide-eyed sort of like oh no, who me? Like what? Like oh
mhm.
my goodness. Lord, help me.
Yeah.
Help me. Please get to the party. Please get to the audio. Please, 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 Caprice, please.
So, Thomas and Pippa go out to lunch with their friend and with Thomas's sister.
Mm.
They share everything. They're just like, yeah, we could see our neighbors. It's kind of weird, and the guy's cheating on his partner, and somehow they continue this whole very uh, sensitive conversation in a restaurant. The waiter is putting down their food as they discuss polyamorous relationships and you have no type of interference with the waiter. I think that that would be really weird in real life. There would certainly be ooh, excuse me, what? But we don't see that, which is unfortunate. But at some point in this conversation, Thomas's sister says, you could try and rig a device in your apartment to listen to what they're saying as well. And
Ugh.
Thomas figures it out, and that's what happens next. Mika, what would you say if you were out to lunch and your sister recommended this?
I'm checking everyone into a mental health institution. Like, I feel like all of these people need help. Oh my goodness. I cannot
Yeah.
even okay, like for some reason everyone in their life is like very receptive to this stuff. Like, okay, we had a scene earlier on and it was with the partner of Thomas's sister that Pippa also works with. And like Pippa's talking about the couple with her. If I went to a brunch and they were still talking about this, I'd be like, why are we not over this? Do you guys want to like fuck them? Like, what is happening here? Like, it would be like my mind would go to and like what happened in the scene before, my mind would be going to the right place because there is like some weird like sexual stuff that's happening. Um, but I also like wouldn't recommend something that is so illegal. You know, it's like one thing to
Incredibly
like
illegal.
yeah, it's one thing to download songs off the internet, which is like the pre-Spotify days. It's another thing to like to like invade someone's privacy in that way. I cannot even fathom that.
Yeah. They've
No.
escalated from light peeping to intentional peeping, which is already illegal, and
Yeah.
then they now want to spy on their neighbors, which definitely not
Yeah.
allowed anywhere that I'm aware of.
No. I don't want to know my neighbors.
uh,
But where do you know
God.
that?
Yeah. So they decide that they're going to move forward with rigging up the device to listen to their neighbors. They
Mm,
realize that they also need a counterpoint in the neighbor's apartment to bounce the audio back into their own studio. So they realize that the neighbors are throwing a Halloween party and they invite themselves over. um,
you remember what
they
Pippa said as they were going over?
no,
She
what
was
did she
like,
say?
these are like the types of adventures we're gonna laugh about when we're older. I'm like, bitch, no. I'm surprised this man didn't pull out the minority card. Like, I might go to prison if we get caught doing this. You'll get out. I will
Yes.
not be okay.
Oh my
But yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
I think that would have to be a story that is kept between the two of you. You don't tell
Yeah.
anyone else because it's so illegal. It is so illegal. Your partner sister, two other people already know. Two other people. Like, you got to
Yeah.
keep this hush hush.
Yeah. You already have two people you need to murder if anything happens. Like, you already don't expand the list.
I know. Oh God. Oh gosh. All right. So they go up to this apartment. They
Hmm.
are in shock and awe because it is a beautiful apartment.
Yeah.
They have an amazing space. There's plenty of interesting people around. People are having a fantastic time. And then they're pulled into a mini photo shoot
Uh-huh.
but oh gosh, with who I'm so sorry. It's hard for me to get my words out with this because it's just such a strange situation to be in. But they're pulled
Hmm.
into a photo shoot with none other than the man in. We have to have a name for him. His name is Ben, I believe. Um, so Ben is the man who's having the affairs. And he pulls Pippa over first, and then Pippa pulls in Thomas to have a
Hmm.
couple photo taken. And Pippa makes eye contact with Ben, and Ben seems to recognize her in some way.
Hmm.
We don't know if he recognizes her from the interaction that they had that one evening,
Yeah.
or if it's just like like an inkling that you sense that they know who they are, but he's not able to place it.
Mm-hmm.
She knows what's up since she's been
Mm-hmm.
spying, but she doesn't say anything. The photo shoot is awkward, and then they continue on.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas makes some small talk with some people, and
Wait, can I just say
Sydney,
about the photo shoot? He
yes.
literally he takes her leg and
Mm,
like I don't want to say hoists, but he like moves her leg where he wants it to go. And I'm like, I am gonna punch you in the throat. Like, do not touch my thigh folds. You know what I'm saying? My thigh folds are for me, and for me alone. Like, I don't even
yeah.
understand how Thomas. He's such a calm man. If someone is touching my
Mm.
girl like that, I'm slapping somebody today. Even though like I'm not supposed to be here, and I'm in a weird ass costume, I am slapping
Mm,
everybody. I'm slapping
yes.
you and your mama and your girlfriend. But
Yes. Yeah. Um, oh, yes, because, and at this point they're wearing masks, so no
Mhm.
one is really able to identify each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree that Ben is way too comfortable with other people's bodies. And
Hmm.
yes, there's some element of authority that he has as a photographer and how you place your models and how you position things to your liking. But
Yeah.
oftentimes you have to remember that these are people
Hmm.
and you need to ask permission. And
Yeah.
the way that he doesn't ask permission with the models in his apartment, and the way he feels that he has a right to their bodies, he
Hmm.
seems to apply that same entitlement to the rest of his life. And he seems to treat other people badly um,
Yeah.
in similar ways. And that
Hmm.
was like a very honest example
Yeah.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how you said this entitlement, like it comes out in these small ways as well until it ramps up into a situation where you're asking a model to remove their clothing and then you take off your own. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are signs of stuff like this. So that was creepy.
It's
But
really creepy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So after the photo shoot, Thomas has some small talk with some other guests at the party, and Sydney is tasked with placing the mirror somewhere in the apartment. I think they mentioned some type of statue that was in the apartment that would be
Hmm.
best, and she just tries to find her way there without being too awkward in the party. They manage to place it, and then she runs into the partner,
Hmm.
Ben's partner, and she says that she's Margot, and she just says, mi casa, su casa, and disappears. So she seems to be having a good time. and um, and Pippa and Thomas get back together, and they seem to enjoy the party. I think they stay for a little bit too long, but
Yeah.
then but then they decide to return home, and then we cut to the next day, I believe. Is that it from there?
No, it cuts to later on that evening when they're trying to
Mhm.
set up the audio.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
they do set up the audio that same evening.
Hmm.
I think the science behind this is actually quite interesting. It is possible, but I'll get back to you with details about that later.
Okay. That's
Um,
cool.
they they bounce back the laser beam. So they use a laser to hit the mirror
Hmm.
in the neighbor's apartment. The neighbor's apartment bounces the laser back into their own apartment, and they're able to amplify the sound waves and tune it so that they can hear conversations that take place within that room.
Hmm.
And they hear that the couple is having an argument, and the person who we know as Margot is accusing Ben of having an affair, and Ben refuses and denies everything.
Hmm.
He becomes aggressive, and we realize that he's gaslighting her. Of course,
Hmm.
we know what's been happening in the apartment while Margot is away,
Hmm.
and he he becomes a bit violent. We realize that Margot is backing down mainly because of fear.
Yeah.
She does seem very persistent in her desire for him to acquiesce,
Hmm.
uh, when he gets violent, she says, "Okay, no, I believe you. You're fine. I take back what I said." And then he says,
And he
"Good,
threatens divorce. Yeah.
right? Yeah."
Yeah.
He threatens divorce, and we don't know much about her.
Hmm.
But we realize that she is dependent on him financially,
Yeah.
and he mentions that as he's threatening her. How are you going to survive without me? Is what he
Yeah.
says, and it's a really hard conversation to pick up first thing when you choose to spy on your neighbors.
Yeah.
Thomas and Pippa are shocked. Uh, they don't have words to describe how they were feeling about that situation. Yeah, we cut to the next day, and it seems like Pippa is at work, and she is asked to go to the front desk, and it turns out that Margot is at the optometrist. And Margot turns out to be a person named Julia, and
Mm.
Julia is in for her eye test. What happens next, Mihika?
It I just can I just say that
Mm.
like this is some queer baby shit, okay?
Mm.
For some reason, all of these movies, even like the ones from the early 2000s, even the ones that have come out recently, it's like there is a zoom in on like a dewy lip. There is like a really like well curated shot of like a blinking eye. Like it is everything is moving slowly. Like there's just something moist in the air. I don't know how to describe it, but I was just like, guys, someone help me. I don't know if homegirl wants to fuck this lady or wants to fuck the husband or both of them. No judgment, but I don't know what's happening. Um, yeah, and then it's not even like a spoil. Nothing comes of it, which was like very upsetting.
Yeah.
Because it would have been a great chance for like another twisted queer representation. But anyway, um, I just they have this eye exam and um it's actually kind of interesting, Kappa, because like we talk about this all the time where like sometimes we meet someone and we're like, oh my God, like I have kind of like a friend crush on them. Like I want to ask them
Mm.
out. And like Julia ends up asking wait, what's her name?
Pippa.
Booby?
Pippa.
Pippa.
Poopy.
Booby. Um wait, what's the other bitch's name? Juby?
Julia.
Julia. Julia
Mm.
ends up asking
Pippa.
Pippa, oh my God. Julia asked Pippa to like get some coffee with her, and then she's just like, I just think that you're like a cool bitch. Like, let's go fuck. And then Pippa was just like,
They don't say
yes!
it. They don't say that. They
They
want to
don't
go
say that.
to
They
a
don't say that.
bathhouse together.
They they don't want to fuck, but they want to go to a bathhouse and be naked with each other. No homo. They do
Oh.
have like a lovely little okay. I'm cutting ahead because I really want to talk about this
Y-
spa day.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, actually, before you do
yeah,
that,
yeah,
another missed opportunity to say something. If you
yeah.
meet someone in public, you
Mm,
realize that they might be neighbors, even
mm-hmm.
just in our own lives, okay? If you
Mm,
kind of recognize someone and
mm,
you're in an opportunity to ask them about it while you introduce yourself, go
mm,
for it. There's
mm-hmm.
literally no harm. You can say, "Hi,
Yeah,
my name is Pippa. I think I recognize you from somewhere. Are you
100%.
from this estate, or are
Yes.
you typically around this and this intersection?"
Yeah.
I
No,
There's
yeah, it
no
makes sense.
harm. There's no
Yes.
harm. And then you can say, "Oh my
1000%.
gosh, I live in the building on this spot. Are you in this
Yep.
building? Oh
Yep.
wow, we're neighbors. Oh."
I think Capcom, like, do you ever have a feeling that sometimes when someone is doing something that they know is wrong, at some
Mm.
point they start to enjoy the wrong that they're doing? So like they don't want to
Yeah.
cop up to it. They don't want to admit to it because it's like there's like a secret thrill out of like using your binoculars like a 75-year-old crusty psycho to like spy on your neighbors. Like
Yeah.
it is beyond me. But like you said, so many opportunities to be like, hey, I think I've seen you before. Where have I seen you? You know?
Mm. Yeah.
Um, And it wouldn't even be like a pickup line because like they were about to bone, so it would have been fine. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
think that the director and producer wanted you to feel that way because they
Yeah.
definitely made the scene in the optometrist office
Mm.
cinematic. They were
Yeah.
zooming in on the eyes when they were doing
Hmm.
the eye exam. Everything slowed down. You can
Hmm.
see even the movements, the lips of each woman were highlighted. It was
Hmm.
erotic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She had more chemistry with this lady than she had with Thomas for like the entire 45, 50 minutes that we had seen them
I
together.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And there's
Yeah.
something stale about Thomas and Pippa's relationship. It
Yeah.
it it felt like she was acting. I know that
Yeah.
she is an actor, but I don't mean it like that. I mean
No,
like
no,
she
like,
wasn't being
mhm.
genuine in her own relationship.
Yeah.
And she, like you said, had more chemistry with this other woman, and she wasn't being honest with herself. She was incredibly
Hmm.
horny and didn't feel like she could express her sexuality in a
Yeah.
relationship, and it came out in other ways.
Yeah.
And this is
Unhealthy
one
ways.
example. Yes.
Yeah. This is just a PSA to all people. Go home and tell your partner you're horny and make sure things happen.
Yes, communication is key.
Maybe this is actually a conversation about female pleasure because Thomas was very happy to get himself off and just left this lady high and dry with her binoculars.
That's true, actually. That is so true. She told him, "Can you hold it?" And he said, no."
He's like, ugh.
And
He
there was
shat
no
his
attempt.
pants.
Uh, he got his own pleasure, and then everything
Yeah.
stopped. Everything stopped.
Yeah.
Literally everything stopped. There's other things that you can do once you're done,
Yeah.
and he didn't
Yeah.
offer, um,
That
which was
is
sad.
so rude.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Then she
don't
said,
blame her
"You know
for
what? It was
fantasizing.
hot." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know what?
Yeah.
Fantasizing, fine. You
Yeah.
can say it was hot, and yes, it was hot for
Yeah.
her. And you can say, "You know what? I'm not done yet. Let's go to the bedroom." You can do whatever you got to do. Just communicate what you need so that
Yes.
you're not horny with people where you shouldn't be horny with them.
Yeah.
Okay? Um,
No,
oh
I
gosh, Mika,
100%
we're gonna be
agree.
putting this on the internet. This is
But people need to know. I just think too, like if you have it sucks to have to reach a point where you need to communicate. Like I also want to get off, especially in modern day relationships. I feel like it should just be like woven into the dynamic. But
Mhm.
if you do communicate it and then nothing changes, then like cut your losses and get out. Like it's not worth it. Go somewhere else. But don't try to fuck the centaur next door. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. And maybe there has to be a discussion about your sex drive and your level of desire. Like
Sure.
perhaps there's other ways of managing that and still being happy in your relationship.
Yeah.
But that wasn't something that we saw as viewers in the film, watching this film,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And this it ties in perfectly with the conversation she has when she goes home after her day in the office with
Yes.
Julia. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So why don't we get to it? Like, I don't
Yeah.
think there was anything in between
Yeah.
the office and the coffee and then the bathhouse. So yeah, you go for it.
Okay.
Um,
So I'll say first that like she like her and Thomas, there starts to be like small cracks in their relationship.
mhm,
Thomas is kind of over it in terms of, spying on the neighbors.
mhm.
He's kind of had enough, but she is insistent upon hanging out with Julia.
Ah,
And
yes, yeah, that's right.
yeah. And now there's just a ton of tension between her and Thomas, but she spends time with Julia at this spa bathhouse place, and they
Mhm.
discuss their professional lives, Julia's lack of a professional life, and versus BB and her optometry shit. And no, it's not BB. Pippa.
Ah.
Her optometry life. And then they just, you know what I find to be really interesting is that Julia didn't ask shit about BB. Like she was just like, let me talk about myself and my husband. Like go fuck
Yeah.
yourself, BB. Like she didn't ask about, are you dating anyone? Do you want a bone in this like big water tub thing that we're in? Like she didn't ask anything that I wanted to know. Um, but you can kind of tell that it's just the way that she spoke about her partner was the way that people talk about just a toxic relationship, that things like there are little signs of things that are going wrong, but you're trying so hard to hold on to what you had before, or like what they did to make you feel special. Um and they talk like they talked as if like they were really establishing a friendship that perhaps had a future. So in that way, like I did enjoy some parts of their bathhouse time, and then they got naked, and then I was kind of over it. Um,
More
after
exhibitionism.
it was just like, why did they have so much chemistry? Why was it necessary?
Mm-hmm.
It's queer
Mm-hmm.
baiting, I'm telling you.
Yes, yes,
Um,
it's true.
then after the
Well,
bathhouse, what happens?
well, okay.
They,
Some more
yeah.
pieces when it comes to that is that like, yes, they're getting to know each other,
Mm,
but we have to keep in mind that
mm,
Pippa knows way more
yeah, that's
than
true.
what she's putting on.
Yeah.
And I think it is a good opportunity to question how you can manage a friendship, a blooming friendship, when you
Mm-hmm.
know more than
Mm,
what the other person might
mm-hmm.
know about you.
Yeah.
Um, when you know more about them than they know about you,
Yeah.
and how honest you can be about the friendship that you want to have with them
Yeah.
if you're not going to mention it. It's the same thing. I think of Why Won't You Date Me? And Nicole says, I don't even want to hear that you've seen me on TV. It's not a discussion I want to have. While
Mm,
others who are dating and are famous, they want to say, okay, like, let's just get it out in the air. Let's acknowledge if you've seen me before, if you're aware of my work, but I don't really want to talk about it that
mm-hmm.
much. I think that and those are in intimate relationships, you know, like I
Mm-hmm.
think that, yes, those are opportunities to be a little bit vulnerable and it might be a little bit awkward, but the
Mm-hmm.
same concept applies when you are trying to build a friendship with someone. You have to be a little bit vulnerable with them. You can think about it as a friendship that you're trying to have in an office environment. If this is
Mm-hmm.
someone that you've heard about before, and perhaps you've seen them around the office and you've heard some things about them, you should
Mm-hmm.
say, you know, I learned about you in this situation. I'm aware of this and this. Is that true? If it's not, like, we don't have to talk about it. Like, I just wanted to let you know. I wanted to be honest. And let that happen. I don't know. It's a good question to have. I think at this point in the film, uh, there's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't blame Pippa for not saying anything. It
Yeah.
just makes you question how far the friendship can go. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how far
So
this obsession can go. Like
yeah.
where do you see an ending that makes you happy? Like are
Yeah.
you seeking happiness at the end of this? Like what are you looking for? But I think she's just horny. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There
Yeah.
really wasn't any thought process. I think. Um,
She was just optometry and horny, and that was about it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And it was she was definitely showing her cards, I think. She
Mm,
was um the information that Pippa offered demonstrated that she was also questioning herself. She was questioning her own career path. She was questioning what she could have done if she didn't pursue optometry. And I think in similar ways, she's thinking about all of the opportunities that closed romantically when she was entering a relationship with Thomas
hmm
and um, automatically shutting down other opportunities, romantic opportunities, because of monogamy. Um, Oh, and that's paralleled with Julia, who seems stuck in her career and is dependent on her partner and
Yeah.
doesn't know what's next for her. I think that that conversation is layered,
Yeah.
and it was an interesting um, segment of the film.
hmm It was especially interesting when Pippa is already aware of the weaknesses and vulnerabilities in Julia's relationship, having
Mm.
seen her husband boning multiple people. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Hmm.
But then, is it the next scene where she notifies Julia of the infidelities through the wireless
Yes.
printer?
Yes. Yep. That's when they return
Ooh.
home.
hmm
Yeah, I think Julia is alone. She manages to put on headphones and listen to the conversation, listen to the house and watch the neighbors and using the binoculars. And she uses printers, Bluetooth printers to
Mm.
communicate with Julia. And this is a PSA to everyone. There is an episode of Darknet Diaries about the security of printers, and they are not secure. Please secure your printers because this is possible. People can access your internet using this way. It's scary, and people don't talk about it, but it
Yeah.
is a weak link in our security systems, and this is a perfect example of that. Um,
Death by printer.
yes,
Yeah, 100%.
but you could take it away.
So Pippa decides that this is her moment to communicate with Julia and to let her know everything that is going on in her relationship. So she sends a test message just to see like if she's getting the right printer because you got to make sure of these things. And then she sends a message saying your husband is cheating on you. Which can I just say, this is all a waste of paper. She should just put all this onto one piece of paper. So first she says your husband is cheating on you. Then she says there are used condoms in the bathroom. I was about to say dustbin, but what the garbage can, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, and so Julia, when she sees the first message, she's like, "Is a ghost sending this to me?" Like we just see her looking around the apartment, and, like because the call is coming from inside the house, and then we see like the husband comes out and is like, "Bitch, why are you awake?" And then she's just like, "I am reading my Traveler's Digest. I'm reading 101 Ways to Murder Your Husband. I'm reading How to Evade Jail Time. Please go back to sleep." And then the husband, he leaves. And that's when she's able to read the second slip of paper that says that there is a used condom in the bathroom trash
Hmm.
bin. So Julia goes, she picks up the condom and she holds it in her palm and she thinks to herself, "Should I eat this?" And then she puts it back in the
Oh my God.
trash.
Why did she
And
touch it?
I
She didn't.
don't
All you have to do is look in the end. This is important to think about when we get to the end of the film because all this is an act. So, like, you didn't have to pick up the thing. You just have to look at the garbage and then show your distress. Like, you don't have to hold the nasty used condom in your hand.
know. No, like it was. She's holding it up to the light, like, "What's in here?" So nasty. Is this a balloon? Like, I don't know what she was thinking. Um,
Oh
but anyway,
gosh.
she finds it, and then Thomas interrupts Pippa's um creeping
Spying.
time. Yes, and he's just like, "Bitch, what are you doing?" So then Pippa tells so he also watches what's happening through the windows and he sees that Julia is very distraught and then I guess did Pippa tell him? Pippa tells him, I had to do something. I had to tell her about what the husband was doing and they get into an argument, I believe, and then she
They
falls
do.
asleep. Is that right? And then the next morning we see that oh no, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so we see Julia goes and she just like, I thank God I was reading these magazines because I'm about to go stab this mofo. So she pulls out a knife very delicately from the knife block and then she goes to the bed and she stands over him with all of 85 pounds of her, and it just like it starts stabbing at the air. And this man, for some reason, he remains sleeping. I think, I don't know, maybe he took like a couple pills or something. He's dreaming about an orgy. I don't know what he's doing. And
Go on.
then, Pippa and Thomas, like Thomas is trying to call the popo, and Pippa's just like, no, don't call the police. Let them murder each other. I live for this. Let's masturbate. And then Thomas is like, no, we have to call the police. Are you nuts? Um, and then do they see her putting the knife down? Maybe like
Yeah,
that's how,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she
Um,
puts the knife down and then they go to bed.
and then, yeah, naturally. Who
Mm.
hasn't gone to bed after trying to kill their partner? That's the
Mm,
only thing
mm,
you
mm,
can
mm.
do.
Mm, mm,
And
mm, mm.
then Pippa ends up falling asleep. Thomas wakes her up with coffee, which she does not deserve. And
Mm.
then we see that through the window, they continue their saga and see that Julia.
No, 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 wait, wait, wait.
No?
Okay, so they had their
I'm missing.
huge argument the night
Okay.
before,
Yeah.
and it doesn't end well. They go to bed. We assume they go to bed. They wake up the next morning, and Thomas makes her a cup of coffee and says, "We have to talk." And he sits her down and says, like, I'm really upset about what happened last night. I think that we're putting ourselves in a bad situation. I don't like your obsession with them. And then she rebuffs him. She's like, this is not an issue, yada yada yada. But I do
Yeah.
see where you're coming from. It wasn't a good idea, and like you're kind of right.
Yeah.
Um, but while they're having this conversation, Thomas
Mm.
asks her, "Am I enough for you?" And she
Yeah.
says, "Absolutely."
You
And
liar.
straight lies, straight lies. And I feel for Thomas there. I feel for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, and so they make up, they hug, they get on with the rest of their day. And when they look out the window, they see Julia has killed herself, unfortunately, and Ben is trying to hold her up. She's slumped down on the floor. There's blood all over her neck and clothes, and Ben is distraught, trying to wake her up, it seems, or see if she still has a pulse. And we assume that she actually is dead. There's no getting her back or resuscitating her.
Hmm.
Um, Julia is shocked. Ben is freaked out.
Wait,
He
Julia's
is
dead.
sorry. Pippa is shocked, and
Julia came back
Thomas.
from the dead to
Yes.
haunt her neighbors.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Um, can you imagine if it went into fantasy? Oof. Oof, oof, oof.
That probably
Uh,
would be better than where we were headed because,
yeah, no,
oh.
for real. God. So, Thomas freaks out,
Hmm.
and it's so unfortunate that they learn about Julia's death after they made up, but such as the story goes. So, Thomas is can't handle it. He's
Hmm.
overwhelmed by what's happened, and he says, "You know what? No, I just need to leave." And he leaves. He says that, we're done,
Yeah.
and he's gonna go stay with his sister. Julia, pardon me, Pippa, doesn't really know what to do with herself, and she ends up watching the birds. And I think that's another theme that runs through this. It's like exhibitionism, voyeurism, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, we realize that Peppa is taking this breakup badly
Hmm.
when she decides to go to the same bar that Ben goes to and try a little something something with Ben. They have a discussion. Well, Ben actually goes to her and
Yeah.
says, "Do I know you from somewhere?" I don't think that Pippa. Oh, I actually don't recall if Pippa gives him a straight answer, but they recognize each other. Ben
Hmm.
is intoxicated and he's obviously struggling with the death of his partner,
Hmm.
and he is questioning Peppa, really questioning himself, but he's talking at Peppa
Yeah.
about the merits of monogamy, about pornography, and its relationship to it's involvement in a relationship, and he's completing pornography and its usages to
Mhm.
extramarital affairs, and he's like, it's the same thing because it's for you, it's for my own pleasure. He's essentially using another person to masturbate. That's his reasoning. It's not about the couple. It's about him receiving his own pleasure. And rather than using pornography, like most
Mhm.
people would if they're looking for self pleasure, he's using other people. And
Yeah.
for that reason, it's not extramarital. Like,
The-
he doesn't see the person attached to the body. Um,
Can I just say,
and
like, for people that like do think this, then
mhm,
don't be in a monogamous relationship then. Then be in like a more polyamorous situation. Like you cannot keep your partner entrapped if you're not planning on following the same rules.
exactly.
That was my thought process.
No, I agree. There
Yeah.
had to have been some adjustment to their relationship to accommodate for his desire to be with other people
Yeah.
and be with other people in a way that seems like an affair, to be
Yeah.
quite honest.
Yeah.
Um, there's no way around it. If it's casual, that's fine, but that has to be agreed upon with your partner.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that, and for that reason, he's feeling kind of guilty about cheating on his wife or his
Mm.
partner. And then we get into a bit of philosophy, and then Julia tells a story about a donkey, was it? Who is, it's
Yes.
a fable
Yeah.
about a donkey always looking for something better, and it ends
Mm.
up dead at the end of the fable. And you know what? There has to be some form of cognitive dissonance in this conversation because she's the donkey in this situation. Um, but somehow she continues the conversation confidently, as if she's giving this man advice that's actually useful. I don't get it, Mika. I don't.
This is
What
why
did
though, like
you
hypocrites, they find each other. You know what
they
I mean?
really
Like the
do?
universe, they pull them together. Um,
Gosh.
yeah, no, I don't even. You know what also bothered me? I know you were like segueing into what was gonna happen next with these people, which you can sense the
Hmm,
minute he sits down and like the close shot that they do of both of their faces.
of course,
Um,
yeah.
I was just like, you have seen this man putting his hands on his partner in a physically violent way. You have
Hmm.
seen him cheating, lying, abusing, gaslighting, and you still think abs.
Mm,
What?
he's
I
just a
cannot.
beautiful man. Mm.
The muscles don't matter, sis.
No,
This is
they don't matter when he
dangerous.
can kill you, literally.
Yes. And like with how like unhinged he was. You know what was crazy though after the donkey story when he's like, you know what, that was like a slavery story, right? I was just like, this white man schooling this blonde girl. What's happening?
Oh God. Oh God.
Cut to her
That's
black boyfriend running away from her because she's nuts. Like,
I know, Mika. This story is so crazy.
he's crazy.
God. Uh, so she invites herself over to his place and
No, he said he wants to take a photo of her. He
right,
wants a
pardon
photo.
me.
And she's just
Right.
like, yes, I'm freshly waxed, baby. I'm ready to go.
Honestly, I think the reason why I framed it like that in my mind was because
Yeah.
she went with the intention of picking him up.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was my mistake. Obviously, that's not what happened in the
No.
movie, but that's where my mind went. Um,
God, but it makes sense. Like, how many
uh,
times have, like, as a person, you picture everything that you're going to do to make somebody else do something that you want them to do?
yes,
Yeah, like, I set this up. You just think that you did. You're proposing, but I made you do all this for you to think that you were proposing. I
yes,
actually made this happen, bitch.
yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I
Oh
cut you off.
gosh. No, but they go to his apartment. He does the usual, you know, he sets up his camera, he gets his model placed as he
Hmm.
likes, and um the pictures escalate in their erotic nature, and eventually they both end up naked. And it starts with a kiss, and then it starts with And then it continues with a touch, and then next thing you know, they are boning.
Can I just say though, can I interrupt you really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
It started when he like flung his socks at her. Do you know what
Oof!
I'm doing if a
Oh,
man
that was
throws
really
his
awkward.
socks at me? I'm walking to the kitchen. I'm opening the fridge. I'm taking out 2 blocks of butter. I'm putting them in the freezer. I'm freezing them for like 30 to 45 minutes. I'm putting those blocks of butter into the socks. I have literally beat you to death with these. Like, I
That's
am
a lengthy
murdering
plan,
you.
Mika.
I will. I'll make you stand there butt naked for 45 minutes to an hour while I wait for my butter to get frozen. I am so angry. The fact that he throws the socks and she just like, what the fuck? Where did that come from?
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
it just
I doesn't.
demonstrates his disrespect. He
Yeah,
doesn't give a shit.
they're used socks. He should have went to his
Oh,
drawer, picked out some new socks, and then thrown those at her.
oh. Yeah, he's a bad man. He's a bad character. He doesn't treat people well, even when it comes to simple things.
Yeah.
Somehow he still manages to mess it up. Um, Anyway, they are boning in the living room, and that's when Thomas decides to return to his apartment and pick up a few things. He takes a sip of some kombucha that he has in the fridge, realizes he doesn't really like it, and pours the rest into a bird feeder. And then he looks out the window, and he is hit with another wave of sadness.
Nausea.
He is having a rough day. And he witnesses his ex doing it with the neighbor.
Oh,
He
BB.
feels. I can only imagine what that man is thinking. Because he questioned her. He said, "Am I enough?" And she
Yeah.
said yes. And clearly he wasn't. And this is just a
Yeah.
perfect example of that.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity to start a conversation, and she denied him that. And yeah, so next thing we know, we see him collapse,
Mm.
and that's it. Um, After the affair, she
Hmm.
has a conversation with her best friend at a coffee shop, and girl, this is wild, but the friend is like, "You're not in the wrong. What are you talking about? That you should feel bad. Everyone knows that the best way to get over one man is to get under another."
Caprice, are you telling me you wouldn't tell me the exact same thing if I
Nika, I'm
neglected
telling
my
you,
partner and I boned somebody else through the window? If I
through the window.
boned, you're telling me you wouldn't be like, Mika, you're not at fault. Don't worry about it, sis. It wasn't you, it was him.
Mika, I would consider myself a better friend than that, okay? I'm gonna tell you straight. We're gonna have a hard conversation, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the friend knows the details. She knows that it's not
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
a hookup after a breakup. This is a man that she had her eyes set on,
Yeah.
and it ruined her
Fixation.
relationship, and
Hmm.
it it was bad in every way. So, gosh, I was shocked. I was shocked to hear her friend's response. I think that the first time we watched this film together, we were both like, "What the fuck? What? What is happening?" We were shook, and
Enablers. So many freaking enablers in this damn movie. Yeah.
so many.
Yeah.
And then we also learned that Ben is doing a a gallery. He has a
Mm.
gallery opening,
Yeah.
and Pippa invites her friend to come with her to the gallery.
Yeah.
So they go. But before they go, she goes home, and we realize that Thomas is hanging from the apartment. It looks like he's killed himself, and She's very sad. She's very sad
Wait, this
about
happened
it.
before the coffee conversation, right? Am I nuts?
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, that
Oh my
happens.
God. Can you imagine?
Sorry,
Like
sorry,
she
sorry.
sees her ex hanging there. She's like, I have like a gallery opening to go to, so
I,
like I'll like deal with this afterwards.
sorry, sorry.
No,
That
that's
is very
okay.
so true. My mistake. So,
I
but
wouldn't
that's
be
what.
surprised if she did
Oh,
that.
oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, like Kara, Pippa doesn't give a shit. So,
Yeah.
but
BB does not care.
no, no, and it actually is. It's also what makes the conversation with this friend so
Mm-hmm.
wild to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Anyway, they go to the gallery, and turns out that the gallery is a piece about Pippa and Thomas snooping on their
Mm-mm.
neighbors. Pippa is completely blindsided and
Yeah.
runs away. She runs away because all of her personal details are out there for the public. And for whatever reason, the couple, Julia, by the way, is not dead. This was all performance art. And
Mm-mm.
Ben and Julia set up cameras, photos. We can assume that there's audio in the apartment as well. And they captured everything. Everything was an act from the moment they moved into the apartment to where things are at present time. They decided to capture photos of Thomas's death, and they featured that in the gallery as well. And that's when people freaked out. They started to leave the gallery, and of course, Pippa
Mm.
was shocked and embarrassed and decided to leave as well. And how did you feel about this twist at
Oh
the
my
end of the
God.
film?
It was crazy. It was like actually, it was huge. Um, Especially because like for so long when we were watching the characters, it was like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you watching these people? And I think for a lot of it, it's like we think that they're the ones that have the power because they always have the power to look away. But then everything that they were seeing was put for their benefit. Everything was a show, and that is so scary. Yeah, yeah. And you also feel like duped because you're like, I felt bad for these bitches for so long. Like I was like,
Exactly.
I mean, apart from
You
like
felt
the
bad for Julia
for
of
Julia,
all.
yes, for Julia, yeah,
Oh
and
my gosh.
she's horrible, horrible.
Yeah. And it makes you rethink the conversations that she's had with Margot,
Hmm.
with Ben, with Julia when she goes to the optometrist, all of these opportunities to share more, and
Yeah,
neither party did.
yeah.
Um, I think that's really interesting. Um, but conveniently, Julia's relationship with Pippa wasn't highlighted in the
Mm-hmm.
gallery.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a form of manipulation taking place, of course.
Yeah,
That was more than just what the pictures in the gallery captured. But it was
100%.
bad. It was bad in every way. And um, and then it turns out that the couple, Ben and Julia, decide to do a documentary as well, and they're famous. They have their film out there, and or their performance art elsewhere, and they're doing an interview with people from different countries.
Mm-hmm.
Ben is still his misogynist,
Mm-hmm.
misbehaving self, and when they return home, um, this is without neighbors watching them. They're being their true selves now. Ben questions Julia and says, do you do you feel sorry though? And
Mm-hmm.
she says, no, no, everything we did for our art. And we think that it is just him asking her about manipulating
Mm-hmm.
the couple. But it turns out that, oh gosh, that they actually killed Thomas and made it
Mm.
seem as though he killed himself. And we know this um, hmm, because Pippa picked up the little clues that were left behind. Uh, I'm not going to go into details, but she realized that the kombucha was poisoned,
Hmm.
and she decided to sabotage this couple by poisoning their wine. They end up drugged, and she leads them somewhere.
To her
She
office.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And she gives them the down low about everything that she's learned, and she gets her revenge by blinding them
Mm.
using the eye laser at her office. And that's the end of the story, Meek.
What a wonderful
Uh,
film. Oh my goodness. Someone nominated for an Oscar.
Girl.
I was so cheesed.
Um,
Ugh. Justice for Thomas. Genuinely.
Truly,
He was
truly.
the only sane person out of this entire cast, including his sister and his sister's girlfriend. Like, he was the only sane one.
The only sane one, and the person who would respond the way that every other person would. I
Yeah.
like no one can deny the fact that you do light peeping all the time. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
But there's a point when you realize, okay, this is becoming uncomfortable, and you put up
Hmm.
blinds or curtains or whatever, or you choose to ignore whatever you see. And
Yeah.
whatever you do see, you keep it to yourself.
Hmm.
He was willing to
But
do that, and
yeah,
other people just escalated it.
made
And
like
he
a
was complicit,
lifestyle out of
like he
it.
did these
Yeah.
same thing, like he was part of this.
Yeah.
Um, it gets to a point where it's like, oh gosh, you can feel
Yeah.
guilty and then choose to stop, and then what do you do when your partner refuses?
Seriously, he ran to his sisters, and thank God for that. Oh, I mean, like, I wish that he stayed at his sisters. Like, if he had just, but no, no. I mean, it wasn't his fault. He was murdered by psychopaths for the sake of art.
Mm,
Um, supposed
yeah.
art. Oh my God. I need no,
Mm.
no. Well, how would
And
you rate it? Good or not good?
well, oh my gosh, Mika, there's so many other things I need to say. Like I've been going on and on, but like
Yeah, no,
I
no.
do find it interesting that Pippa decided to sleep with the man in his apartment, knowing that he doesn't have any blinds or curtains or anything up. So she herself is subjecting herself to exposure.
Hmm.
And I also think that's a form of exhibitionism just right there. Um, there's guilt that Pippa feels, but I don't think that there is any type of remorse that was demonstrated.
Hmm.
None. I think that the manipulation and the revenge, I don't think that it was enough, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
The manipulation that took place was justified in Ben and Julia's eyes because the couple signed a waiver.
Right.
But I don't believe that it's ethical. It's ethical to even do that. I don't think that would ever be possible. And when you think about like what even could be possible in the real world, you have to consider your home sacred. It's the only place that can be for yourself and can
Hmm.
be kept sacred. Um, so is signing your rights away even possible? Is signing, and even if you do sign away your rights, and there's security, there's audio, there's photography that's in your own home and outside of
Hmm.
your control, is that even legal? That
Hmm.
you have to question that as well. Is the
Yeah.
document that you signed even enforceable?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
Um,
strange because um I I used to work in insurance, right? And there would be people
mhm,
that would call in and be like, I didn't know that if I missed a second payment or a third payment, whatever it was for the company that they were with, that they would cancel my policy. And I'm like, it's in the paperwork. And they're like, well, who like reads the paperwork? And I'm like, I get it, but
mhm,
also you are incorrect. Like it
mhm,
sucks. It really does suck. But there's nothing like the company doesn't owe you anything. Do you know what I
mhm.
mean? And it's
Yeah, it's
horrible and
illegal
it
contact
shouldn't
in that
be that
relationship.
way. Yeah,
Hmm.
and like I feel awful, especially as a middle person, you feel awful in situations like that. But I think like in this situation it's like, wait, what? What do you mean? Nah. You know what I mean? Um and it's horrible. I like just because something is legally justifiable doesn't make it right. You know what I mean? Like,
I
just
agree.
because you cannot go to prison for it or you can't be sued for it does not mean that you are not a morally bankrupt person. That's all I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And in this case, if this were to happen in real life, I think that it would be illegal and amoral as well. You know, like what the couple did anyway. It doesn't matter if you signed what, like the paper, it doesn't matter.
I'm
Like,
sure there's definitely a
yeah,
lawyer somewhere that could like sue the shit out of these people, and they have money.
100%. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, go the legal route. Bleed them dry.
Bleed 'em dry.
She's an
Um,
optometrist. She has money. She has so much money. You got that LASIK money.
yeah, yeah. But I thought it was interesting that she decided to take away their sight because
Mm,
they are artists that depend
right.
on their physicality and, of course,
Mm,
photography to get by. Um, I think that it's interesting to it's interesting to think about the things in the film because we use our eyes to think about desire. We desire people through how they appear and their appearance. And I think that
yeah.
Ben and Julia took advantage of the fact that they have a wonderful apartment, that they're physically attractive, like physically attractive, meaning they're the standard of attraction is in the Western world, and people like looking at them.
Hmm.
Julia's a model, you know,
Hmm.
and the photographer is very self-centered. He has a like a typically attractive body, and he takes advantage of his models with ease, you know?
Hmm.
Like, um, yeah, so when you take away your sight, you also take away their ability to capitalize on what they've on their own appearance. And so yeah, I don't know, there's a sense of blindness that comes with that as well. Not only like literal blindness, but blindness to be able to indulge in art
Yeah.
in the same way.
And their
Art
value
and
system.
desirability and
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Because
Struggling
if
to read
that's
my own notes. Sorry, that's why I was taking my time. I was like, what does that
no,
actually
no.
say? Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. But it's disappointing when your entire ecosystem has been set up to value physical beauty over everything else. This is why they're such bad people,
yeah.
because that is all that they care about. That
Hmm.
and money. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And in this case, for Julia, there won't necessarily be there isn't a character arc for her. There isn't really a lot of debriefing for her and her experience. She only gets revenge, and that's it. We see a final capture of her when she's
Hmm.
on the roof of the building. And I think that moving forward, there's going to be a bit more caution on how she approaches her life and what she chooses to see and not see. I think
Yeah.
that there will be a more thought to what she chooses to be blind to, if we're gonna go that route and like using the blind metaphor. Um, I don't know. It reminds me of the whole idea of like there's selective blindness,
Hmm.
um, especially in situations where you have to expose yourself or be exposed in some way.
Hmm.
Um, there's the video online of people. It was like maybe 7 people who are throwing basketballs to each other, and
Hmm.
a gorilla walks through the middle, and then afterward, as a viewer who is supposed to count the number of passes
Hmm.
of the ball that took place, you are able to block out the gorilla walking through the middle of the video. And it's a demonstration of our ability for our brain to block out things that you just don't want to see. And I think in a
Yeah.
similar way, there was an opportunity to do that as neighbors. or even just like living your life and choosing to not see some things because they're not desirable or they're not important, or
Yeah.
it's just something that you need to ignore to move
Mhm.
throughout your life. Um, there would be more conscious awareness of that for Pippa's character. Um, and a
Yeah.
lot of rethinking about her own relationship. Yeah. And then the sexuality element, oh, I don't know. I don't know. That she was just a horny character, I think. Unsatisfied as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that like when you're miserable, you do crazy, awful things. And
Mhm.
you do everything except what you should be doing sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh,
that's it.
this movie is a crazy ride.
It really was.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't that deep. Maybe I was just going too far.
No, I think that there's so much room to there's so much to examine in this movie.
Mm.
And it especially when you consider like these ideas of beauty and these, conventionally attractive people doing these freaking ridiculous things and what we choose to value in ourselves and in other people. There's so much to talk about. So it makes sense. It makes sense why you had so many thoughts about it too. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yay! Episode 2 done!
hey, 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 hey,
Whoop.
hey, 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 hey.